What is up, Bulls Nation? Welcome into CHGO Bulls Podcast, presented to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download their app. Be sure to use promo code CHGO when you sign up and use that fabulous app. I'm Matt Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. Joined by my guys. He's here in studio, in case you missed him on postgame last night. Mark K. Follow him at MK Hoops. Will the Go Gottlieb with us as well. He is Will_Gottlieb on Twitter. We are CHGO_Bulls. Filling in for Joey today, it's our main man, Lawrence, on the controls. What up, Law?
What is up, gentlemen? This is exciting. Oh, my God. I can't believe I'm here with you. This is like my favorite day of the year.
Happy to have you here.
I think
it's
we
a great
had you
day.
On Monday, didn't we?
Yeah, it's a double dip week for you guys with me. So
this is what happens when Joey just abandons us to go to Atlantic City for 4 days.
I know.
That's right. Secret's out, Joe.
Yeah, seriously. What the hell, man?
No, actually, Joey is expected arrival any minute now back here in Chicago.
Dame time.
So, but yeah, so is today your favorite day because it's day one of March Madness, Lawrence?
No, it's my favorite day because I get to meet Mark K in the flesh.
Oh, look at that.
I will say,
yeah.
that embrace that you gave me at the door,
Yeah.
that was a beautiful thing.
Hey, I learned from Big Dave. Okay. He's not here today, so I had to do my part. But it was very nice, though. I was going to get a sandwich for lunch and rushing downstairs, and then who's waiting at the door wondering how to get into this building? None other than our crazy Australian friend, Mark K.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Mark was messaging me in that moment that you and Casey were heading out the door to run to the market, and he was like, hey, can you come let me in? And I was like, oh, there are people on their way down. And I was like, this will be a delightful surprise for all of them to run into each other downstairs.
The most delightful part of my day,
I wasn't even that
sure.
polite about it, though. I just said, doorman, question mark.
Yeah. It's fine. I can be a doorman at a time. I was a doorman for you last night.
Exactly.
When you showed up in the middle. I got up from postgame to let you in.
I was watching that, guys, and that was
I'm
pretty
a little
amazing.
sad I wasn't there for that. I was hoping you'd hold off.
Yeah,
Just
I was
soak in the
thinking
game a
about
little
it.
bit, and then today would have been your first show. But then Dave wouldn't have been here, so.
Yeah.
Well,
But you got your own moment of like, oh my God, Mark's here in Chicago when you were just hanging out at the front row of the United Center together last night.
Yeah, maybe we can spend some time on that and
Yeah.
later in the show.
We'll talk about that at the back end of today's show. More on Mark's experience as he's had time to digest his first game as a Bulls fan in the UC last night. Exciting contest. Loss, though it was.
Competitive losses.
Sadly, we had to make a quick shift on what else we were talking about on today's show because we got some news on Lonzo Ball. Shams Charania tweeted this at around 3:15 Chicago, a.k.a. Central Time. Chicago Bulls guard Lonzo Ball will undergo a third surgery on his left knee that is expected to cost him most, if not all, of the 23-24 season, sources tell The Athletic. The sides are optimistic of the procedure reviving Ball's career. Woj piggybacked on top of that moments later. Other people on the Bulls beat chimed in. Then the Bulls released their own statement on this, saying, the Chicago Bulls guard Lonzo Ball and Clutch Sports announced today that Ball will undergo a cartilage transplant in his left knee. Ball will remain out indefinitely. Updates will be provided when appropriate. Yikes.
Yeah.
Big yikes.
And the funny thing is, Mark, I saw that tweet, immediately popped up, read the first sentence of it, said, fuck, handed you my phone so you could read the tweet. And then you did the same thing I did, which was just read the first sentence of it.
Yeah.
But that's the part that I think Bulls fans, anyone living in reality, was expecting.
Well, yeah, I mean, to take the listeners and watchers behind the scenes, we were just sitting here backstage, just talking, watching March Madness, and I assumed you were just passing me the phone to just essentially confirm what we already kind of felt was going to be the case, which was Lonzo's going to be out for, however many months. He's going to have another surgery type thing. So that's all I thought you were doing. Mm-hmm. And I only read the first portion of the tweet.
Yeah.
Lonzo is basically having the third surgery. And I was like, yeah, okay, we knew this. Cool.
We all...
Here's your phone, Peck.
Yeah.
But then I realized afterwards that the key part of the tweet was the fact that he was expected to miss most of the 23-24 season, which is not something I just mentally haven't gotten to that point, because initially when they were talking about this, it was like potentially another 6 months, which I didn't think it was going to be just 6 months based on Lonzo's recovery time with all these other injuries. I thought maybe it might be 10 months or something like that. But the fact that he's going to potentially be out for most of the 23-24 season, even though Shams in that tweet said that there's some optimism that maybe he can come back and play, like, why would we have any optimism at the moment? So, completely deflating news that just dropped before we went live. So, tough, man. Tough.
It's brutal, too, because as you said, the original reporting, and obviously it's an estimation, was 6 months, which puts you right at the beginning of next season. And obviously, taking things slow with Lonzo, has been out over a full year at this point. You got to get him to the point of recovery. You got to start ramping up. You got to get some activity and some conditioning under your belt before you can even start to really ramp up. And there's no pain, all this stuff. But then 6 months is pretty long runway. But then to hear almost all, if not the entirety of the 2023-24 season, you kind of expected that. I think I was kind of prepared for that deep down, but to actually see it, I think
it's another thing when
thing.
it is slapped in your face as an official report of he might miss all of next season. I think Bulls fans were starting to prepare themselves for that possible reality, and it just hit us in the face.
Well, I wasn't, though. I mean, maybe this is me being a douchebag, but I don't know why I wasn't preparing myself for that. Because what are we in? We're in March now. He has the surgery now. Assuming that's 6 months, that takes us through to September, based on some very bad maths that I've done in my head.
Right.
To Will's point, maybe there would be some time required in terms of building his body back up. So maybe he'd be back around January, was what I had in my head. So when I continued reading that tweet, I was like, what?
Well, and the thing is, when the Bulls made their official Lonzo is being shut down for the season announcement, which was right around deadline day, right? The day after, whatever. They made that announcement, and in that announcement they said, with the plan for Lonzo to have this full off season, to work towards getting healthy and being available for the complete 23-24 season. I remember the way that they phrased it. And when they shut him down for the season, they said something along those lines of, our plan is to have Lonzo fully available next season. And to go from that, which was only a few weeks ago, back in the middle of February, to now being well, actually he might be lost for the entirety of next season. That's a quick, ugly 180 to have to deal with.
That seems more realistic. Like I said, you can't expect him to be back. And I think that really has to change the way that the Bulls front office approaches this upcoming offseason, the way that they're thinking about their group in general, just because he's obviously such an important piece on the basketball court. But when you have this $20 million basically dead money on your cap, it's really difficult, especially when you're already over the salary cap and touching the luxury tax.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to build around that.
Yeah. And what this means is you can no longer use the continuity excuse. I can justify it, or they could justify it in the off season, and maybe there would have been a chance that that's possible with Lonzo coming back at some point this season. Obviously, that's not happening, but at that point in time, it was a fair assumption to have potentially. I guess you could make that argument. Whereas now, to your point, given this news that he's potentially going to be missing most of next season, you can't be sitting around here talking about continuity or hoping Lonzo comes back and forms part of the nucleus going forward, because clearly that's not something that can be relied upon. So to your point, William, it does change the dynamics of what the offseason what it should look like.
In other words, the Bulls have to move forward with the understanding that they're not going to have Lonzo, period.
Yep.
Right.
And if they do get him back, that would be an incredible miracle. It'd be great.
Yeah.
But you cannot operate under the assumption that he's coming back, because
see, the thing that I think some Bulls fans might point to say, well, gosh, I don't feel good about that at all, because you're right, Will, but they said the same thing during the training camp weeks of this current season. Somebody asked Billy, do you need to be prepared for the possible outcome that you don't have Lonzo at all this season? And he said, yeah, of course we're preparing for that outcome, because it's a possible outcome. Well, what did they do? They signed an aging Goran Dragic. And
there's a difference between possible outcome and a confirmed 100% it's happening outcome, right? Because that's where we are at this point.
I suppose.
I think there's a difference between well, maybe we can get, obviously they had like the 6-week timeline, which we all knew he was going to blow by for the second surgery, which he had on September 28th. We all knew it was going to be a stretch for him to get back before January. But like the fact that they didn't rule him out until after All-Star break, I think they knew prior to that he was going to be out for the season. But I think at that point they could also convince themselves that maybe he'll be ready to go for the start of next year. But when you get to a point where there's just simply no progress happening, you have to do something. And when you have to do something for the third time on the same knee because there has been no progress, I think it is a totally different story where now you have to figure out solutions. You can't just put a Band-Aid on it in the form of Patrick Beverley or Goran Dragic and hope that it will get better, because this is a much bigger issue. I mean, it's kind of like the surgery itself, right? Like you can't just say time will heal this. You know, he'll have time to recover. The more conditioning, the more he's just able to like get treatment on this knee, the more likely it is he's able to come back. I just don't think it's going to work that way anymore. And I think we can all agree this team's just not good enough, and they need to make changes. And now they're going to have a huge hurdle in the way of being able to do that with this money on their cap sheet.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's tough. And look, obviously we've touched on the high level news, but there was further, communications around the cartilage transplant, as Salim is sort of suggesting here on the screen. Like, I can't remember any time ever. Maybe it's happened in the background, but I can't remember any time ever that someone's had a cartilage transplant.
Right.
It just adds to the whole thing. Like, well, what the hell is a cartilage transplant? I can make assumptions around that, but it doesn't sound good.
Right.
If I have to donate my cartilage to Lonzo, I will do it right here, right now.
Right.
Do you have a scalpel? Let's do it right here, right now.
Bulls fans make those jokes all the time. Like, take my knee. I'm not using it, and I would really like the Bulls to get healthy.
Yeah.
Now this is a situation where, like, but it makes you think back to the second procedure he had, which was, I guess, the one in September, right? Which they called like arthroscopic debridement.
Yeah.
Which can be going in and cleaning up loose cartilage around the knee area, and maybe similar to like an MCL procedure, kind of like shaving off a piece that has been partially torn, as opposed to repairing it. And then in those situations, and again, I'm no doctor, just from what I've read about basketball players and their knees and injuries, there can be an issue where if you go through too many of those procedures, you start to lose a sufficient malleable amount of cartilage in that knee area. Yeah. So that might be the explanation for why he's now talking about a cartilage transplant, because all these procedures, Lonzo's running out of cartilage. It's not great.
It's a fair assumption. We're obviously making that assumption,
right?
But like, it's a fair one to make. Again, I'm not a doctor either. None of us are.
But again, how often do you hear about a cartilage transplant for a basketball player dealing with a knee injury?
Exactly. So it's all the news today. It just went from bad to worse, really. So, irrespective of this, and we say this every time we talk about Lonzo, but we just hope Lonzo is okay. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's going to now lose effectively 2 years. And it's not even just 2 years.
2.5 years.
2.5. Like,
if he doesn't play until October of 24.
True. It's 2.5 years with the Bulls. But he's even throughout his career before Chicago, he had injury issues. He's missed a lot of time. Like, almost 50% of his career to this point has gone. The fact that he's potentially going to miss another season, I just really hope Lonzo is okay from a mental standpoint, I guess. To have his career just sort of disappear like this when you're meant to be in your prime, entering your prime, man, it's tough. So I just hope he's cool. I hope he's fine, and I hope he's got a good support system around him to sort of get him through this. So, yeah, just hoping he's all good and fine.
Micah in the comments chiming in with a super chat saying, just when we thought we got away with a slap on the wrist for tampering, it's good to be able to have levity in dark moments. The Bulls have faced much harsher punishment when it comes to Lonzo Ball than that tampering punishment that they got. I mean, but again, to echo those sentiments, Mark, this is what Arturas Karnisovas, Bulls VP, said in the team's official press release about this news today, in case you missed it. Quote, I continue to admire Lonzo's perseverance throughout this journey. This has been a long and challenging road for him, and this decision has been a difficult one to make. The organization is behind him, and he has our full support. Our training and medical staff continue their commitment to Lonzo's rehab and to working with him throughout the next phase to ensure his healthy return to basketball, end quote. Arturas obviously being very vocally supportive of Lonzo in what's been a really tough couple of years for him, but also again, zooming out to the team's perspective and what AK has now facing him, Will, I saw you were kind of talking about this on Twitter when the news broke. The contractual element of this, not just Lonzo and the fact that his contract is fully guaranteed, but a lot of Bulls fans out there right now wondering exactly what the team's options might be as far as getting that money off their books in some way while still paying Lonzo his guaranteed money. There's the disabled player exception, which we've talked about on and off with Lonzo. Bulls didn't use it this past season in the hopes that he would come back, or this season rather. And then the other option being in the CBA, the Bulls could be alleviated of some of that money off their cap if it was deemed to be a career-ending injury, which, again, that statement from Arturis, the most recent statement from Lonzo himself, nobody here is talking as if it's a career-ending injury. No. So it looks like the Bulls are just going to have $20 million on the books for Lonzo for the next 2 seasons.
Yep. Yeah, that was the primary thing that I saw on Twitter is why can't the Bulls just like cut him and waive him and get off this money? Well, the contract is fully guaranteed, as most NBA contracts are, the vast majority of them. And so they can't just like cut him. But what becomes really difficult about this situation for the Bulls is that they're already over the salary cap. So this year, obviously the idea was to get him back, and this is going to apply to next year too. The idea is to get him back on the court. And so they're not operating under the assumption that he won't be there, which means they're not going to apply for the injured player exception, the disabled player exception, which would give them about $10 million in this case. It's half of the salary up to the non-taxpayer mid-level, which is about $10.2 million. Mm-hmm. So they could have, in theory, used the disabled or applied for the disabled player exception to get that, but there's a couple rules with it that make it pretty difficult. One, you have to get it for a player on an expiring contract. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing this mid-season after the January 15th deadline, you're not really looking at very many impact players who can join your team for that kind of money in January. That's just that doesn't really exist. All the major free agents are off the board in the summer. The other thing is that money still applies towards your salary cap. And as I mentioned, the Bulls are above the salary cap and almost touching the luxury tax, which means if they were to use that 10 point whatever million, that would push them into the luxury tax, which not only are they not going to do, but like realistically, they probably shouldn't do that with this team. Like this team is not going anywhere. There's no real reason to do that. I don't want to like leave the Bulls off the hook for not doing it, but like realistically, I don't blame them for not using it this year. And I think those same questions are going to come up next year of we're hoping to get Lonzo back. If he's not able to get back, then we're not going to be able to use that money on an impact player in January, February, because those guys don't exist. And at that point, does it make sense to go above the tax to bring in some player that's going to make our 31 and 37 team a 35 and 38 team or whatever it is? So it becomes really difficult. As you mentioned, they could, in theory, get that money wiped off the books if the injury was deemed career-ending, but we're just not at that point yet, and that probably won't happen until after next year. They'll be able to start to talk about that, but that will have to go through the Players Association, through the team, through Lonzo's camp, and that's just a very difficult thing to do for a 26, 27-year-old. So, again, the Bulls are in a very tough spot. They basically are, I think, $10 or $11 million under the cap heading into next season, but that's before the Vucevic, Kobe White, Ayodosunmu, Patrick Beverley free agency questions that they have to answer. It's going to be very tough with this dead money on there. And like I said, they still need to find a way to work around it because right now they're just not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I completely agree with everything you said, assuming the team stays as is. And based on how the team has operated over the last sort of 1.5 years, it's a fair assumption to assume some or most things will stay the same, because in part because of the cap position they're in. But if for whatever reason things were remodeled and they were to tear down their roster or trade one of Levine, DeMar, or Vucevic, something like that, then obviously that changes the calculus in so many ways, but also potentially the disabled player exception as well. So you're definitely right that if the Bulls are above the cap and pushing towards the tax, know that there is absolutely no chance this team will use the DPE to add another player. But if for whatever reason they've remodeled their roster, they've gone back to a retool, a rebuild, that they've gone away from this team and remodeled things and the cap structure looks a little bit different, then maybe in that scenario they could use it. But assuming things were to remain somewhat steady, then your point absolutely stands.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but it has to be used on a player in the final year of his contract. You can't just like go out and sign somebody for equivalent of the mid-level exception. And the other piece of this that's just really difficult is because you don't want to dump him. Basically, the other way to get off of this money would be to like say, here team X who has $25 million in cap space, take our first round pick this year and Lonzo Ball so you can wipe him off our books. Like they're not going to attach assets to get off of him when they're in this position that they're in.
No.
So basically what they have to do is exactly what you said. They have to find another workaround, which basically means trading DeMar or Zach or Vooch and taking a step back next year so that they can at some point take 2 steps forward. Hopefully at that point, Lonzo will be either getting towards playing again or actually playing again. Mm-hmm. But it just seems like, it's similar to the Derrick Rose vibes. Obviously it's not the same. I think it was like 35% of the salary cap at that time that Derrick Rose was taking up. Right now, Lonzo's only at like 15-ish%.
Yeah.
So it's not as damaging, but the position that the Bulls are in, they're above the cap. They don't really have a lot of wiggle room, and there just simply aren't a lot of ways around this.
Right. I mean, if some Bulls fans still struggling to grasp that, Kawayne Wolford in the comments saying, man, the Bulls stay with players too long. They don't really have alternative options as far as if they wanted to give up on Lonzo, so to speak, and move on. His money's guaranteed, the contract's guaranteed, and the Bulls don't really have any CBA paths right now, provided Lonzo is not ready to call it quits on his career entirely to get his money off their books.
And, like, the best thing for both sides is to get Lonzo to play again, right?
Right.
Like, yeah. It's not just that, like, the Bulls would be better off cutting him because, like, who else are you going out to get? They're not in a position where they can necessarily sign free agents. So just it's really difficult, and the best thing for both sides is to try to rehab Lonzo and get him to play again.
Getting him to play again, provided that Lonzo is healthy enough to play. The Benny in the comments, Billy Donovan should force Lonzo to play. I don't believe he's injured. What's wrong with some of you people?
That's like the dumbest comment. It's dumber than the spelling of his name.
What is wrong with you people? My gosh. Have some compassion.
That would be an adjustment from Billy, though. Something we haven't seen all year. Just kidding, Billy.
But
that's
I
a
mean,
joke.
you could theoretically get rid of Lonzo's contract, right? You just trade him to whoever, a team with cap space. But in order to do so, you have to give up probably one, maybe even multiple first-round picks to do so. So, okay, fine. You move on from him, you get rid of him. But then instead of complaining that Lonzo's injured, we'd be complaining about the fact that the Bulls gave up assets to move Lonzo's contract. So they're in a lose-lose situation here, as you sort of noted. So, yeah, there's no good outcome here. The best outcome at the moment is just to hope that the Bulls, his representatives, they're all aligned, that he can get right, that hopefully this third surgery is the thing that fixes him and gets him sorted, and fingers crossed it is. And like I said before, I'm hoping that it is for Lonzo's sake, because to your point, people should be compassionate about this, because this affects no one more than Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
Like, if we're down on this, just imagine how down this dude is, that 2.5 years of his career has just disappeared.
And facing a third surgery in the span of a year and change, and realizing that there's a decent chance he's never playing again. And for people who don't believe he's injured, watch that video of him working out that he posted a couple months back, and you tell me he doesn't look like a player.
Watch the video of him in Paris talking about how life is going right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super sad. I'm glad you brought that up, because, like, the joy that he plays with, I think you can probably equate to, like, the way that he feels about basketball, right? Like, he is so much fun to watch. I mean, some of the most fun I've had watching the Bulls in the past decade was Lonzo Ball. And so for him to not have that in his life, for him to watch this team play the way that they are and know what he can contribute to that, playing his favorite game, doing the thing that he loves, and not being able to do it, just heartbreaking.
Yep. Indeed. We got to take our first break here. You want a total sidebar out of left field Woj bomb as we head into our first ad break, guys? This has nothing to do with the Bulls.
Okay.
ESPN sources, Charlotte Hornets owner Michael Jordan is engaged in serious talks to sell a majority stake in the franchise.
Wow.
To a group led by Hornets minority owner Gabe Plotkin and Atlanta Hawks minority owner Rick Schnall. MJ, selling the Hornets after years and years of the Hornets being irrelevant in the NBA.
Well, I mean, he's another owner that doesn't pay the tax.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe that's part of the reason why he's going to win. Oh, that's a huge one.
He's got to wait until after the lottery to determine
you would think
the
so,
valuation there. Because if they're getting the old
Bulls
Wembanyama sweepstakes, that's going to factor into the closing costs.
Bulls' most winnable schedule or game left on the schedule. They got one more against the Hornets at the end of March.
They've lost to them already this year.
That we have. We're going to talk about the Bulls' remaining schedule coming up after the ad break. While we're sharing these words from our friends and sponsors, do us a quick, easy favor and hit that like button if you're watching along on YouTube. Helps us out a lot. Of course, also make sure, if you aren't already, that you subscribe to CHGO Sports YouTube channel to get alerts anytime we got live shows on deck. Mark K in the center seat in Chicago. What's that you're sipping on? Because I feel like we're about to listen to Mark K do a Goose Island ad read, y'all.
Well, I'm glad you gave me this ad read because I'm glad you gave me this one because I mean I've read this ad read before and I never experienced Goose Island before, right? It was just a theoretical thing in my mind. I'm sure in my mind it tasted beautiful, and I'm glad to confirm it does. But even more, why I'm really happy to talk about this. Goose Island was the place where I met these two fine lads in the flesh, in person. First time ever. We were at the Clybourne brew house. Mm-hmm. We met there for dinner. We met there for drinks. It was amazing. So not only is the beer fantastic, friends, but you should go there with your mates. You should go there for events. You should go there and just absolutely down a few cans. Have the Matilda. I mentioned the Matilda last night on the show. That was a beautiful beer. I've got the 312 in my hand right now. There's a whole bunch of other options. What do you have there?
I'm drinking the Blackhawks Pale, baby.
There you go. There's so many options.
What was when we tried Honkers?
We tried the Honkers as well.
Honkers
on tap
good.
at the brew house and
the
their
OG.
tap room. The OG
original.
English bitter Honkers. Best beer Goose ever made.
That was extremely
Delightful.
good. Extremely good. I would gladly have another one, and I hope we get to go there before I go back again before I leave. But essentially, if you don't know people, obviously Goose Island is a massive supporter of us here at CHGO. They've been Chicago's beer since 1988. So if you want to support these guys, if you want to support us, please do so. So if you want to check out their two locations, like I said, the Clybourne Brewhouse. They have another one on West Fulton as well, if I'm not mistaken. If you want to go to events, if you want to drink beers with your mates, if you want to drink a beautiful beer like I have in my hand right now, look.
Look at that. Mark K drinking a Goose 312.
Drinking on TV.
Wait,
Isn't
do
it
that
a
again.
beautiful
Do that.
sight?
I got to get you on the single here. Oh, look at that. Don't you like that? I gave him a single today. Yeah, we
Beautiful.
had the ice.
Mark K deserves a single.
He definitely does.
That thirst just that quenched my thirst. So I'm when I say I'm fully endorsing this program, this product, friends, I truly mean it. So check out the brew houses. Obviously support the company. Get those beers down your throat. You'll enjoy it for sure.
Mark K tested. Mark K approved. Goose Island beers.
Last night, just quick story time. Last night, Mark was sitting courtside, pregame. He was watching warm-ups. I came by to go see him and wanted a picture taken. So I grabbed his phone, and as soon as I did, a text came through from his wife, and it just said, "Get drunk." And that's what he did on some Goose Island.
Yeah.
Shout out
That's
to her.
fantastic.
I listened to my wife.
As you should.
Shout out to Jess.
Shout out to Jess. Thanks for taking care of C Red Teddy, letting Pops here come to Chicago, have a good time.
Get drunk.
Get drunk. CHGO Bulls today also brought to you by our great friends at DraftKings. Shout out to our guy Cody, CHGO Cubs, CHGO Bets. Oof. Already took a couple tough losses today. That who was it? Charleston,
San Diego
who
State.
did not cover that 5.5 or 4.5 against San Diego State because of a meaningless foul in the last half second of a game. That's brutal. That's a bad beat.
A brutal beat.
Also, condolences to him and all of you Illini fans out there. Condolences to our pal Ayo Dosunmu, as Illinois, this just went final a few moments ago, loses to Arkansas in their first round matchup, 73-63. Already seen a couple big upsets. Kansas and Alabama, the two ones to play thus far, both cruised. However, Princeton, little Ivy League Princeton, taking down number 2, Arizona, 59-55.
Terry.
Shout out to
And
Pete Carrill. Shout out to backdoor cuts left and right.
And number 4 seeded
Carrill.
Virginia loses 68-67 in dramatic fashion to the Furman Furries of South Carolina.
Furman.
Furman! I think I've got the black lung pop.
It was Furmania.
Never had heard of Furman until today. They are some college in South Carolina that just beat Virginia today. Gotta love the tourney. And you know what makes the tourney even more fun is putting some bets down on
Gambling.
it. Putting some parlays across several games in these early days of the tourney. There you
I
go.
got 3 down. I got 3 to go. It was the they have a boost situation where up to 100% if you do 10 legs.
There you go.
I think it was 40% boost for 6 legs.
How you looking?
I got 3 down. I got 3 more left. I have the Duke money line, Texas A&M money line, and one other. Oh, Citadel plus 13.5. They got to keep it close against
Citadel.
Texas.
Sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 8 games
Colgate.
that are
Colgate,
final
not
so
Citadel.
far. We've got 6 more tip-offs, and we've got action right now, Auburn, Iowa, early first half. There's so much college hoops action, you guys. Go bet on it at DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't forget that promo code CHGO when you sign up, which will give you that incredible offer of $5 down to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. And those same game parlays at DraftKings Sportsbook, no sweat. If you don't hit your parlay, you get a bonus bet back. Multitude of reasons to have your sports betting fun and make your sports betting money at DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't forget that promo code CHGO.
Maybe that's why Jordan's selling the Hornets. Maybe he wants to get some more money, to put more money onto the into his DraftKings account.
The man is a fan of gambling.
It is true.
According to various reports and rumors over a number of years. Sorry about the Illini, Cody. We all love you, and we're here for you.
Oof. Yeah.
It's got to be tough.
Hey, good thing for him is he can't bet on Illinois in Illinois.
Right, that's
So,
true.
At least he didn't lose any money on it.
I mean, I'm going to watch my Northwestern Wildcats take a beating, I assume, at least.
Your Northwestern Wildcats?
I mean, I didn't go there, but I am a fan.
Oh, okay.
Casually.
Sorry to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
What's your team?
Grinnell College Pioneers.
Let's go.
Never heard of them.
Thanks. Division 3, baby.
I was going to say, is that a D1 school?
No, sir.
Well, I'm not from here, so I need a team. So people in the comments, put whatever team you follow. If you make a good case,
Yeah,
for me,
I need a team
I'll
too.
support your
Tell
team.
us who to support. I'm open.
Yeah, put forth a good case.
Well,
I'm open to it.
So far, the teams represented by current Bulls not faring too well. Iowa's Illini went down. Dalen Terry's Arizona Wildcats went down as a 2 seed. It's not been a great start
Carolina,
so far.
Florida State didn't make it.
Didn't even make it.
Kobe and P. Will
Kobe
didn't
and
even.
P. Will are out.
Yikes.
Tough.
Yikes.
Tough.
All right, so moving along, we wanted to kind of just take stock of where the Bulls are after that dramatic loss to the Kings last night, which did, in fact, if you pop up those standings, Mr. Lawrence,
Oh, I could
drop
do that.
them back a half game behind the Washington Wizards. So you see there, as Lawrence has scheduled out or laid out those standings, that is the 6th seed, so the last seed to avoid the play-in, Heat at the 7th seed, top of the play-in at the flat, and then games back of the top of the play-in. So there you see the Bulls 1/2 game behind the Wizards for that 10th and final spot. Pacers right on the Bulls' heels. And I don't know about you guys, but of Wizards, Bulls, Pacers, assuming it's going to be one of those 3 teams that get in that final spot, the Raptors hold on, the Hawks hold on. I think the Pacers are the bigger threat right now with the talent on that team compared to Washington. What about you, Mark?
The Pacers have a tough stretch, so I will say that, but they probably are the most cohesive unit of all of those teams that you mentioned, and they're seemingly trying to win. They want to win, like that young group wants to get into the postseason, whereas, I mean, the Bulls and Wizards are saying the right things, but sometimes through their actions, maybe they're saying something completely different. So I think it's a fair assumption to make, and importantly for the Pacers, like they have the tiebreaker over the Bulls, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure.
Pacers do. The Raptors do.
Yeah.
They have one more game against the Hawks that will determine the tiebreak, but they have the tiebreak over the Wizards.
Bulls have tiebreaker over Wizards because it was 2-2 season split, I believe, and Bulls have a better conference record.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess from my perspective, I have no idea. Obviously, he's going to get in the 10th. But because these teams have been so inconsistent all season, like there's no way I can feel confident about saying, yeah, it's going to be this team, that team, or even the Bulls. So I guess all I've been really concentrating on is the Bulls and their schedule and their schedule coming up. And it's not ideal, let's say. They're playing a lot of good, reasonable teams that are arguably better than them. And by arguably, I mean they obviously are. So, they've got a tough road ahead. So I haven't dived into the other team's schedule as deeply as the Bulls, but based on what the Bulls have coming up over the next 1 to 2 weeks, it's tough. It's tough.
Well, shall we take a gander at that schedule? This is how the Bulls' month of March ends. That's their remaining games in March. There's also, I think, one more. The 31st is when they have Charlotte Hornets. So there's a winnable game in there somewhere. But this weekend's back-to-back. You got the Timberwolves and the Heat. Would assume Karl Anthony Towns will not be back as early as tomorrow night. You know, we got that update earlier this week that he's nearing his return, but I'm guessing it's not going to be tomorrow night. So maybe a more winnable game for the Bulls there without Cat. The Heat, tough team, have played them tough. Bulls actually started this season, which feels like a lifetime ago, with a road win against Miami. They're scraping and clawing to try and maybe avoid the play-in. You got to play the Sixers twice in a row. Portland has had a rough year, but you got to play at Portland. Then you go at both LA teams, Lakers and Clippers, scraping and clawing in their own respective spots at the Western Conference standings right now. And then a home game against the Lakers again. So a lot of games in a short amount of days, including 2 back-to-backs on the backside of March.
Yeah, and depending on the point in the season, like I would have felt different. I looked at this March schedule differently. Like obviously, the Lakers since the trade deadline are a completely different team. They've actually been playing very good basketball. So a month or two ago, I would have felt somewhat confident in those games. Whereas now I'm like, maybe not. The Wolves are starting it. Not that they're a good team, but like they've gotten together somewhat, especially on defense. The Bulls they just can't beat the Sixers with Joel Embiid. So hopefully he's not playing, that way they have a chance. But if Embiid is playing, I can't.
Those are 2 Bulls L's. If Embiid's playing, those are 2 L's.
Those are 2 L's. So over the next week, 2 weeks, I foresee a lot of losses coming up. So this is going to put, and potentially this could put a significant dent into their playing chances, which is why I lost last night. Even though it was a fantastic game, it does hurt in that sense. So
yeah.
Do you remember how many points the T-Wolves scored against the Bulls in Minnesota earlier this season?
I'm pretty sure Big Dave remembers.
150 points!
I can still feel it in this chair from when he was raging about it. But yeah, it was.
Oh my God! Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, speaking of the chair there, C-Red UK did ask this earlier. Is Big Dave's chair bigger than the others? It looks massive on Marquet.
They are the same sized chairs. It could just be that Big Dave fills out this chair a little more than Mark fills out this chair.
I think it's the angles as well, like because your chairs are angled in, maybe the way.
So you don't see the spacing as much.
Maybe, but when that embrace that Dave gave me last night, that was the best hug I've had in a long time,
dude.
But can I just say, like, I felt his biceps and triceps. I'm like, this dude is built.
Oh,
I was actually scared. I'm like, he could crush me in 2 seconds if he wanted to.
If I were mid-fall from several stories up out of a building, say because I read the Lonzo Ball news or for any other number of reasons, being a Bulls fan all my life, if there was a person at the base of that building to catch me and I changed my mind mid-fall, I would want that person to be Big Dave. That man is thick. He is strong. There's a reason his name is Big Dave.
Yeah, I learned that last night.
His name is not Small Dave or Medium-Sized Dave. Big Dave is Big Dave for a reason.
It was both a beautiful hug, but I also realized that I could easily be crushed right now.
Made you feel dangerous, but also safe.
Yes.
My mortality, that was
He
close.
could crush my bones into a fine paste or powder, but also I feel like
he's
a
also
perfectly
the gentlest, kindest,
right.
most
You feel like a baby kitten
optimistic
getting
and
nuzzled by
loving
its
person
mother.
that's ever existed.
I love Dave.
Oh, who doesn't?
Can I share some interesting injury report news? You brought up Cat.
Sure.
So I went to look at the injury report. Cat is indeed out. However, Rudy Gobert, questionable. Naz Reid and Austin Rivers, also questionable for the Wolves.
Okay.
Javonte Green listed as doubtful.
I did see that upgrade
as
to
in not
Javonte
out.
from out to doubtful. My guess is that it's not like he's going to magically get a green flag and play tomorrow night, right?
No, but Billy said that he
doesn't mean significant progress is being made. We talked about it, I believe, in pregame last night while you were at the UC, that there were some positive signs from Javonte participating in practice this week.
That's right. Yeah, a big thing for rehab and recovery for all these guys, especially ones that have been out for extended periods of time, is when they get up to the level where they can do cutting and dynamic running and jumping, can they again come in and do it the next day? Or are they going to be held back because there's some soreness there? And so Javonte was able to do back-to-back days of high-level running, jumping, cutting. It was 1-on-0 shell drills, just 5-on-0 stuff, so no contact. But that was a big step in terms of progress for him. So I was pretty under the assumption that he was not going to play again this year. Moving from out to doubtful, I do feel like that's a pretty big jump. And so maybe they will see him back. Again, doubtful for tomorrow for a reason, but could be back at some point this year.
I'd love to see Javonte play basketball in actual human form. Like me being here, if Javonte could come back while I'm here, that would be that would be amazing.
That's another crazy thing with the injuries. I mean, I think he was out in December it was the first game against the Warriors in Golden State.
And then if I recall,
and then got hurt.
It's like he was out and then came back for a game and then was out for a game and then came back for a game and then was out.
Had the debridement, and they initially said 4 weeks, and it's been like 2 months. So hope that guy can come back, because obviously the Bulls need him, but he's been a minimum player his whole career, and he has far outplayed it through his year and a half with the Bulls. And whether it's with the Bulls or not, like, that dude deserves to get paid. So
as Mike in the comments said, it's not just the Bulls need Javonte, they need all 5 of them. All 5 Javontes.
That is also correct.
NHK20 said Javonte finally warming up before the games, which we haven't seen in forever. So there's clear the Bulls wouldn't elevate Javonte from just out, still out, been out for a while, going to be out for a while, to doubtful, unless they had some reason for optimism that he is trending towards playing, and that the step after doubtful is questionable and one day closer to maybe actually coming back and playing before the season's through. But again, maybe the question is, what's the point if the Bulls are playing meaningless games? But they aren't meaningless games yet. This team is still dedicated to trying to get to that play-in and then the playoffs. Law, do we have that quote from DeMar DeRozan from after their loss to the Kings last night about their situation that they're facing, saying, it sucks, we've just got to keep pushing, keep fighting. You can't let it discourage you too much to make you feel like it's over. We understand we still have an opportunity to play this thing out until we can't no more. I mean, they're a half game out of a play-in scenario. But as you were talking about with their schedule, Mark, it's not going to be easy. When you look at that back half of March with those 8 games, some West Coast games, some back-to-backs, what do you think they need to go in those 8 games to keep themselves in that play-in hunt? Like, do you think if they go 4-4 in those games, are they still in the picture? Because I can't imagine Indiana or Washington like running away with that 10th seed.
Yeah, that was as soon as you asked the question, 500 is what came into my head. Because you just can't trust, like I said before, you can't trust the Pacers or the Wizards or even the Raptors, to be honest with you, for them to, go on some sort of winning streak in their own right. So I think if they could go 500, and if they play like they did last night against the Kings, I know that was a loss, but that was a really good, well-executed game from the Bulls on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. If they can play like that, even against some of these better competitions, like the Kings are a very good team in the West. If they can play that way against like the Lakers, the Sixers, the Wolves, the Heat, these types of teams, like those teams aren't world beaters. You can get them if you're playing well. I guess the issue for the Bulls is we never know which team or type of team is going to turn up. So if the team that we saw last night turns up this weekend against the Heat and Wolves, then they have a chance to get those games. And obviously, if you can get those games this week, that's 2 less that you have to get through the rest of the way. So I think if they can go 500, they should be okay. But let's see.
I mean, you look at these teams, it's like Wizards, 5 games under 500. Bulls, 6 games under 500. Pacers, 7 games under 500. If you can go 500 for a stretch, that's pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, that would be great. You mentioned remaining strength of schedule. I just pulled it up here on tankathon.com. Pacers, 2nd hardest remaining strength of schedule. Bulls, 10th. Wizards, 9th. So it's going to be tight. And it's going to be who executes. I think, to your point, Mark, the way that the Bulls are playing right now, they should get in. Like, they're playing good enough basketball to be the freaking 10th seed. And I think it'd be pretty disappointing if they didn't get there, given that that's what their goals are. That's what they're trying to do. But they do have a really tough schedule here. They've got teams that they have not been able to beat. But I think they have been playing a higher level of basketball since they got Patrick Beverley, since the All-Star break, and it's still in sight. Like DeMar said, I mean, I feel like I've heard him say it sucks, it's frustrating, like 38 times this year already. But these other teams aren't pulling ahead. The Bulls aren't going away either, so it's going to come down probably to the last few days, and they just need to out-execute like these sub-average teams.
Yeah. Which, for the Bulls, easier said than done. All right, we got to take one more quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up with some more talk about Mark K's visit to the Windy City so far. And I believe Mark has some show and tell items that he wants to bust out. We'll see. I don't know. It's going to be a surprise. In the meantime, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't the first time round, you're still here, still sitting here. Why not toss us a thumb in the upwards direction? And Will's going to read an ad for you guys in studio. You ready for it? Because, sometimes when these guys are doing their HQ episodes, there's some ad reading going on. Dave and I aren't here.
Some ad reading going on. We read our ads.
You do.
Fumble.
You do.
We fumble our way through our ads.
I'm just saying, this is the first time ever, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not the first time ever.
In studio.
One time it was just you and me. Dave wasn't here, and I had to read.
Okay.
Second time
ever.
Second time.
In studio ad read from Will Go Gottlieb, y'all.
No pressure.
Chicago.
Hello.
You've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams, so get fitted out in the best sports gear around. FOCO has got you covered from Soldier Field to the living room, north side to the south side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in betwixt, as Dave would like to say. Get decked out like DeMar with apparel from the leader in sports merch and collectibles. That's FOCO. If you're looking for the perfect gift for the Bears fan in your life, we got a lot of new jerseys that you could potentially be getting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stretch run here going on with the
Need a
Bulls.
DJ Moore jersey.
Believe it or not, you do need a number 2 jersey with the Bears. The Cubs and Sox are starting up. You can get some gear for them. Go to foco.com, and we will get you covered there. So check it out at foco.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use promo code CHGO for 10% off.
Boom. Foco.com.
In your face.
In your face.
For show.
For show.
Foco.com.
Betwixt.
Today's episode of CHGO Bulls brought to y'all also by our friends at ComEd. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses alike in the communities ComEd serves save money and energy. 2 things, both of them, money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback plans. So here's what you do. Don't wait. Get started saving your money and saving your energy today. For energy saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz. That's B-I-Z-biz. Or if you're ready to sign up for a facility assessment, you can call them at 1-855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative. Email them businessee@comed.com or request an assessment online on their website at comed.com/facility assessment. Love the fine folks at ComEd.
We do.
Saving money and energy, people. All right, we've got 10 or so minutes left on today's program. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. Obviously, the biggest story today was not Lonzo Ball having surgery. We saw that coming. It's a bummer, but we saw it coming. The biggest story today is that Mark K is in Chicago. It's going to be the biggest story of the day until he leaves, people.
Damn right.
What does it? Do you feel like you had a chance to process what last night was?
Yeah, in some ways. Like, I mean, I shouted him last night, but another shout out to Joshua Rosen, a season ticket holder for the Bulls. I plan on writing a story to capture all of my thoughts and my experiences here in Chicago once my trip is done, and you guys will see the detail of that at that point. But another shout out to Joshua, because it's one thing to come to Chicago to go to a Bulls game, which is something that I always wanted to do, and whilst I was here was obviously something I was going to do. But to get the opportunity to sit in the stadium where I did, man.
You had better seats last night than I have ever had at the United Center.
And part of me feels really guilty about that.
No, but you shouldn't, because you made a much further trek than those of us who live in Chicago.
Yeah, but I guess the point is, like, I'm still blown away by the type of reception that I'm receiving, not necessarily just by Bulls people, but like people across the city of Chicago. Another example. I gave you guys a couple of examples last night. Before I came to the studio today, I went to Starbucks because I wanted a bottle of water. Mm-hmm. Their card system was down. Like, I couldn't pay for the water. So the dudes were just like, yeah, just take it, dude. I was like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, it's on the house. I'm like, wow. And I'm not saying that they obviously gave me that because they know I'm this extremely influential, the least influential
they know
influencer going
you're
around.
Semi-Twitter famous.
No, but like, it just speaks to the level of kindness around this town. So that's another thing that continues to just floor me every single time. So again, shout out to Joshua, shout out to his son Aol. But yeah, I have started to process this, and I actually took a few videos of the game last night, and I was able to sort of digest the game a little bit more by watching some of the videos that I took from last night. I took a video of the first possession last night where I think they'd had a turnover and De'Aaron Fox. I'm like, I'm going to get the video out. This is my first ever play that I'm going to see with the Bulls live. I'm videoing this thing, and what do? They turn the ball over. De'Aaron Fox goes down in the other end and has an easy dunk. But so I re-experienced the game in that sense, re-experienced the game by going all over the photos that I took yesterday. Just an incredible, amazing experience. And
you get to do it several more times.
That's the best part about this. I'm going to the game tomorrow night. Friends, if you're going to the game, I'd love to meet as many of our diehards as possible. If you're there at the game, let me know. The reception isn't great in the UC, or at least for me, because I'm using international roaming.
Yeah, but it's still tricky if your cell provider is somewhere here.
Okay,
the
fair
UC is just a giant dead zone.
It's not great. Yeah.
Okay, well, the point is, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know if you're there. I'd be more than happy to meet anyone. I want to say thank you to everyone that supported us here. And everything we do at CHGO. So if our paths can cross, I'd be happy to do so. But yeah, I get to go to the Bulls game tomorrow, potentially Saturday. And they play another game before I leave as well against the Sixers on the Wednesday, I think it is. So
right.
Yeah.
They also have their road game against the Sixers Monday of next week, which stay tuned. We'll have further details, maybe one of the games this weekend when we're doing pre and post. For that game, what we were thinking is to pick a bar here in the West Loop, somewhere near our studio, and just go watch the game there as opposed to watching it here, and invite any of y'all out there in Bulls Nation to come meet us up at that bar in West Loop. If you want to hang out with us, watch the game with us, get your chance to meet Mark Kay before he flies back to Australia. So we haven't picked a location yet, but it's probably very likely going to be somewhere here in our neighborhood in the West Loop. So once we pick a bar, we'll let y'all know where that is. That's going to be for the Bulls Sixers road game Monday of this coming week. And that's a 6 o'clock tip, right? Because it's in Philly.
Love a 6 o'clock tip.
Love a 6 o'clock tip, which makes it even better if you want to come out and watch the game at a bar on a Monday. 6 o'clock tip. Be done by 8:30.
Have some beers.
Have some beers. You know they got goose on tap. Everywhere's got goose on tap.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lawrence. All right, Mark, what's the show and tell stuff you wanted to talk to us about?
Well,
or show and tell us about?
Well, it's not necessarily... Well, I guess it's a bit of show and tell, but it's also giving, right? I'm a guest in your country, right? You're also my friends. So what do friends do? They like to give each other gifts, or at least some friends do. So I've brought gifts for everyone, basically. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Very kind of you. You brought yourself. That is the gift, the only gift that we asked of you.
That's all I cared about.
Well,
I want a gift.
Well, you're getting a gift. You're in luck because I got a gift for you.
The goat is materialistic, you guys.
I'm a material girl.
But I told the guys to look away because I've actually got the gifts hidden under my chair, so they haven't seen them.
I'm actually still turning
You
around.
get a car. You get a car. You get a car.
So just bear with me as I Look away again, please, because I just got to
Okay.
get them out of my chair. So
Just make sure you let Will know when he can look. He wasn't sure last time.
Yeah, before the show, Mark was loading up his little gift basket under his chair, and he asked me to turn around and said that he would tell me when I could turn back. And after like 3 minutes of playing on my computer, I said,
He
I like
walked
stood
away.
up.
He also
Mark
walked
walked away. I was like, can I turn back around? And Peck just burst out laughing.
But he did say, I heard him say, okay, you're good now. You just didn't hear him say it.
I just didn't hear him say it. I was locked
Did not
in.
hear him say it.
He has walked away once again, but
He's walked away once again. I don't even know if
Honestly,
I'm anywhere close to my
I
microphone.
really don't think you have to look away. I mean, what's on the? They're on his
I am
chair.
following
As long as you don't look at
instructions,
his
Lawrence.
chair.
I do what I'm told.
Oh boy,
Also, I just kind of like hiding between my hat and my hoodie like this.
it is kind of fun.
I
Yeah,
feel
wait.
very safe. I
Sorry.
feel like I'm being hugged by Big Dave.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
I
that-
forgot
that
Big
is a good
Dave's in my
look.
bag still.
It's a very
Well, let's
good
start
look.
with you, Matthew Peck. You can hide your. I mean, you can look now too.
Oh, thank you.
But this is gonna be.
And
like,
thank you for letting me know.
This is like, yeah, it's not as eventful as what I'm making it out to be. But we know that you like to wear. What do you guys flip flops?
Birkenstocks?
Birkenstocks, and we know I've given you shit about that in the past.
It's
right?
true. I don't know why. I assume all Australians wear sandals.
We do, which is why I wanted to give you these pair of thongs, right? Actual pair of thongs, not Birkenstocks. Actual. I know you guys don't refer to them as thongs. You call them.
Some people
flip-flops.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got you a pair. I'm hoping they fit you. They're a Billabong brand, an Australian brand.
Wow.
Billabong.
So-
Yes, now we're talking.
Wow.
So, that's
and
for you, my
I
friend.
do
Summer's
every
coming
once in
early,
a while
baby.
swap out Birks for flip flops. I have had flip flop phases of my life. Thank you so much.
No worries. So if I
Thank
have to
you.
see your feet, I would prefer to see them in that than the Birks. That's
What?
the point of the gift. Anyway.
Because you want to see my big toe separated from my second biggest toe with a thong? Is that why?
I'm saying I don't want to see any of it, but I'm saying if I have to see some of it, then I prefer
Okay.
it in that.
I appreciate the gesture, and it looks like you got about the biggest size they offer. What is this, a US 13?
Is that your
That's going to
size?
be as about as close as we get. I'm like 13 and a half, 14, depending on the
I
shoe.
asked Big Dave what your size was,
Yeah.
and he said 13 and a half, but they didn't have half sizes, so I'm like,
There you
I'll
go.
just go to 13. I'll go to 13.
We can make it
Risk
work.
it.
Also, black and gray, like my favorite color combo.
Yeah.
Other than
like
black
your
and
heart.
red. So
Like your heart. Like your heart.
appreciate it. Look at that. Such a sweetheart.
I-
Bringing me sandals. We're so close to sandal season too, Mark.
We're
There you go.
so close.
I've actually busted out the Birks a couple times already.
There you go.
Some of these are normally more
Unfortunately,
days.
Big Dave couldn't be with us tonight, but David, if you are watching, I got you a CD because we know you
Just real
love.
quick, Summer Peck is coming. Sorry. I had
Oh,
to get that out.
Oh, he's on
look
the
at
way.
that man.
He's on the way.
Look
Yeah,
at that
he's coming.
beautiful man.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Look at me wearing my Shady Rays.
Does that mean you're going to shave the stash?
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? Regular season finale, assuming they don't make the play-in. Woo! Gone.
Wow. Sad to hear it.
Well,
I
Yeah,
do
for
it for the
Dave.
people.
Here we go.
Back
What
to
do we got?
Dave. Well, we know Dave likes music, right? I don't know if I've met another person who loves music more. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to give Dave a CD. And this CD here, Parkway Drives, Horizons. I'm not sure if he's going to like this, to be honest with you. It's an Australian metalcore band.
Okay.
It's a lot of people yelling and screaming and playing heavy music, so he's probably going to hate it. But I just wanted to give him this because it's a very important Australian metal album. And I didn't want to give him like the typical AC/DC or nonsense like that. Like I
Right.
didn't want to be Men at Work, that's
Something that he already knows.
Yeah, I didn't want to give
He'll
him like that
appreciate
stuff.
the obscurity of it, I'm sure.
I mean,
I hope so.
You should have went with Gang of Youths.
Who are they?
See, there we go. All right.
I don't listen to trash, man. Who are Gang of
How do
Youths?
if you don't know who they are, how do you know they're trash?
Because I don't listen to it, so I assume it's bad.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
I make assumptions.
Spoken like a man from my own heart right there.
Jeff Rocks in the comments, best of Kylie Minogue. I don't know if you guys get that, but I get that. That's funny.
Is she Australian?
She is Australian.
She's Australian.
I did not know that.
She's a legend.
She's got a couple of radio hits from the past
She's
several years.
Sure, yeah.
I can't remember the name of any of them or the tune or how they go, but I recognize the name.
She's got some bangers. But
Bangers,
Big
yeah.
Dave, when I see you, that's for you, my friend. I'll
I'm
leave
sure
that
he will
here.
like that.
Uh,
Listening to new music.
Next one, William. I mean, what do you get the man who has everything in this world? He has the boyish good look charm,
The perfectly coiffed.
perfectly incredible beat writer. What do you get this man? What do you get the goat? So I decided you get the goat, a book about another goat.
Oh!
So, Lauren Jackson, the best Australian basketball ever. I've gotten her her story.
Oh,
for you,
hell
William.
yeah.
So enjoy reading that one.
I will.
From
Thank
one
you.
goat to another. Not
From one goat
not
to
me,
another.
but you to Lauren Jackson in that sense. So that's for
Amazing.
you. Let me know how that
Thank you.
goes, and maybe
Very
I'll read
kind.
it after you. So and Joseph's not here. So unfortunately, this is
I get his
probably all-
gift? Do I get his gift?
Lawrence gets it all. But I've got a couple pack of Tim Tams.
Yeah.
Tim Tam.
Tim
That
Tams.
sounds like a made. It looks like Australia was just like, okay, well, we can't use Kit Kats because that's already taken. We need something similar.
It's not sponsored as such, but they are a chocolate biscuit. So there's a biscuit, there's chocolate layers, and then it's covered with chocolate. This thing is... I was going to swear. I won't. It is so good. And Jeprox again, smashing it. This dude is on it today, man. Tim Tams, these are glorious. So unfortunately, Joey, you're not here, my friend. Maybe I'll see you afterwards.
So maybe
but
you just
in the-
leave him the one box and we can share the other.
Yeah, or maybe we just have them all
We'll
ourselves.
talk, we'll talk.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to get some Tim Tams in for you guys.
So like a wafery kind of
Not
chocolate
necessarily
cookie
wafer.
with that looks like a Girl Scout Thin Mint. That's what that looks like. Do you have Girl Scouts in Australia?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a club for young girls in America. They earn badges and a variety of different skills and things. But then once a year, they sell cookies that they make.
Okay.
And people are obsessed with them. And they have one particular cookie that looks exactly like that.
I'm tipping this is better. And unfortunately for Joey, there's going to be none left for him.
I'm very intrigued
Yeah,
to
I'm
try
gonna eat all
some.
those. I definitely am gonna eat all those.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
like
Joey.
maybe we would need to ask Joey if he would be willing to share, but now he's not even here.
I mean, maybe if Joey would have come back in time, then he would have
Yeah.
a say in this. But he hasn't
true.
come back, and now I'm still here. I've been here all day.
Yeah.
Doing the show, so I'm eating the Tim Tams.
Yeah.
Give me the Tim Tams.
And
You imagine-
as each of the Hawks guys have filed in one at a time,
They're
stay
eating
tuned
Tim
for
Tams.
Blackhawks postgame later tonight.
Tim Tams are
I thought, oh, is that Joey having returned? Nope, just our Blackhawks crew showing up.
Oh, Yeah. Joseph.
Joey still just vanished. I don't know. Maybe he
I haven't seen
missed.
Joey in like 2 weeks.
He's dead.
Me neither.
It's gone.
It's actually been like 5 days, but it feels like 2 weeks.
Maybe he's enduring some sort of the hangover situation in Atlantic City right now.
Maybe.
Haven't heard from him in hours,
Well, do you
maybe
know
days.
What
I
would
don't
be
know.
a good pickup after a hangover? 2 packs of Tim Tams.
Bags of Tim Tams.
But unfortunately, Joey, you're not getting any. But yeah, law on the draw there for you, my friend. But I just want to get you guys some gifts.
Let's go.
Some very, in some ways, Australian themed gifts, I guess, just to be somewhat stereotypical. But
Love this.
Love it.
yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy those.
French Bulls TV saying, "Is this a Biggie Bagel hoodie?" It is just a donut. It's
Just
a
looks
sugary
like a donut with a bite taken out of
Dashing
it.
donut.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
guess-
it
well,
wouldn't even be Biggie. It would be Dashing.
Oh yeah, how was your first Duncan race?
Duncan.
Was it everything you would have hoped?
Mark, what did you tell me earlier today?
Yeah, before you came, we were. I don't know how did we get on this topic. We're talking about the Bulls.
Because we're constantly talking about the Dunkin' Donuts race.
We were talking
What else
about
is there to talk about?
We were talking about my experience at the game last night, and I was explaining to the guys, like, and you guys already know this, but I was shocked at how loud people were when the race, the Dunkin' Donuts race or whatever. That was the most vocal the UC crowd got. Like, they were loud when DeMar hit that 3-and-1 at the end of the game, but they were louder
It is
when
consistently the 2 times that the fans are the loudest in the United Center. Dunkin' Donuts race, and then in the fourth quarter,
Cheering for opponents' missed free throws.
If an opponent misses 2 back-to-back free throws, everybody gets free Portillos, and people go absolutely bananas.
Yeah, and again, Joshua, who I was with through the game last night, he goes, he tapped me on the shoulder and goes, "Watch out, listen to this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "They're gonna go nuts," and he was not wrong. Like, that was the loudest the crowd went. My ears started piercing. It was that freaking loud. So, Chicagoans love free stuff, I guess. That's what I've also learned.
yeah.
I mean, I think isn't
true.
that pretty universal? Doesn't everyone like free stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I got free tickets last night. So
Especially
I like that.
free,
But, I'm-
delicious Vienna all-beef hot dog Franks.
Uh-oh.
Mark.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Is that where we're going after the
And
show?
that'll do it
Should.
for today's episode of CHGO Bulls Podcast.
Zero be good.
You heard the folks. We'll be back tomorrow, pregame before Bulls T-Wolves. 7 o'clock tip, 6:30 Central Time, pregame. In the meantime, Will is Will_Gottlieb on Twitter. Mark is MK Hoops on Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. Appreciation and love always to our guy Lawrence for filling in for Joey. Long day for Lawrence.
Nah, it's fine. It's all good. I'm getting Tim Tams.
Having some Tim Tams. Keep it right here, CHGO Sports YouTube channel to catch CHGO Blackhawks post game following their game tonight. Greg, Jay, Mario, all around. Don't forget also, cast your votes in CHGO's Merch Madness. All of the matchups are on our Twitter, on our Instagram. Also, go to that merch locker right now, chgolocker.com. Promo code MERCH10, 10% off shopping today. Merch Madness. Until tomorrow's pregame, for all of us here, appreciate you, Bulls Nation. See you, Red. Be good.